I'm Don Pernai, the company director at ETHOSystems, and what I'd like to cover with you today are the differences between Sage Intacct Real Estate and Sage 300 CRE Property Management. Now, for those of you that are utilizing Sage 300 CRE Property Management, never fear, your product is not going anywhere. Sage is committed to that product for many years to come to continue to maintain it. However, if you're curious what Sage Intacct Real Estate has to offer, I think this video will do a good job of presenting that information to you. So our agenda is we're going to cover kind of the main areas that have differences. Number one would be deployment. Then we'll talk about reporting, the user interface, and lastly, we'll cover alerts. So first, from a deployment perspective, Sage 300 CRE is that traditional client server installation. You load the product on a server and then any attached workstations to that server that you want to use it on. What's also become very popular over the last few years is loading it on a remote server through a hosting provider and accessing that information via a virtual private network or VPN connection. This is one excellent way of being able to access your system without having to have a local server in your office. Sage Intacct is quite different. It is a true cloud SaaS environment. So therefore, it's housed completely on Sage servers, and you no longer have to worry or maintain any of the hardware necessary to run the application. It's also truly browser agnostic. Safari, Chrome, Firefox, those are all browsers that we support. What comes along from a deployment perspective is a big difference between updates and upgrades. So with Sage 300 CRE, you receive upgrades to the system once or twice a year. And it leads to some downtime because what you have to do is you've got to take everybody off the server, make the updates to that server, and then allow people to get back in. With Sage Intacct, it's quite a bit different. These updates are applied automatically and they're applied quarterly. So 4 times a year. They're done the 3rd week of the middle month of each quarter. So in February, May, August, and November every year, those updates take place. They also have corresponding release notes that go along with them that, because it's web-based, they're searchable. So you can go into a search mode, type in some keywords, and look for the information that you're after that way. So you end up with no downtime because these updates are applied automatically. And when you come in, your system is updated and ready to go that way. Next, let's talk about reporting. So from a dashboard perspective, Sage Construction and Real Estate Property Management had some pre-authorized role-based dashboards that were ready to go. They were actually some of the first in the industry at the time. However, customization of those dashboards could be done, but it required some extensive knowledge of Crystal reports. Sage Intacct's quite a bit different. Because of its web-based design, you have dynamic dashboards that have drill down capability within them that can very easily be customized and even add a level of user filtering onto them. So let's take a quick look. So if we start with kind of a typical dashboard here within Sage Intacct, what you'll notice is up at the top, we have these white rectangles. Those are what we call performance cards. So those performance cards are user defined, and you're able to pick those key performance indicators that you want to see on a regular basis when you log in. Then we have a listing of real estate owned. And what you'll notice here is when I go in and look at a list of properties, when I click on the property name, it opens up the property information for me. And what you'll see here is we even have a tab called Acquisition Details. That's a user-defined tab. So Sage 300 CRE had the ability to do custom fields. However, they can only be placed under one tab called Custom Fields. Sage Intacct is quite a bit different. It allows you to add custom fields and pick where you would like to place that field that way. And then, of course, here, if I go in and drill in on something like what's the current value, book value of our asset, when I drill in, that's going to take me to the general ledger and show me all of that information here. Now, another way to look at this is if I go in and look at this financial reporting dashboard, I can drill in on a rent column and see exactly what my revenue looked like. And then drill in further to see all of the associated transactions with this from this perspective. And then even take it to the next level and drill in and see all of the details in terms of what tenant is it for and exactly what items were billed at what dollar amount. So very simple and easy to drill into additional data if you'd like to as you go. The other thing here is if you notice, I've got a simple balance sheet and cash flow. Yes, these are all drill downs as well. Anything that highlights in blue is a drill down, but I can also choose to add another component here as well. So I might go in and say, well, what is it I'd like to see? Do I want another performance card or a record or a report? Well, I'd like to grab a report of those tenants that owe money. So I can come in here and say, let's go in and let's grab a memorized report. And we're going to add tenant AR balances. Maybe I don't need to see all rows. I just want to see the top 20 in terms of highest balances. And once I hit save, what you'll notice is now it adds that component to this dashboard for me. So it will redraw it and it shows the tenant information right here with it. So very simple, very easy to customize the dashboard. We also have quick filtering in here. So I can come in here and say, well, maybe I don't want to see this dashboard as of today. Maybe I'd like to see it as of the end of March. So no longer do I have to count periods back. I can just simply grab the date that I'm after and hit apply. And now it will update that financial statement as of that point in time. Well, maybe I'd also like to see it for a certain property or group of properties. I can do that and apply that as well. And then I can even take it down to a tenant or individual lease level, if that's what I'd like to do. And obviously, all of my drill downs change and support all of that as well as we go. So the dashboarding capability is really a leap in technology from Sage 300 that way. All right, let's continue on here. The next thing we like to talk about along reporting is Sage 300 CRE has phenomenal multi-entity capability. It allows for cash and accrual reporting and automates intercompany accounting. Well, Sage Intacct does all those things, but even more. So you're not just limited to cash and accrual accounting. You can even add user-defined books that you would like to add. So if you want to have GAAP or tax or so on, you have the ability to go in and add those individual different books as well. It also supports intercompany accounting. And when it comes to multi-entity, within Sage 300 CRE, you may have had different data folders that you worked in, and that would require you to log in and out of those data folders. Sage Intacct has a different concept. What it allows you to do is go in at different levels. So I can go into an individual level for one of my entities or groups of entities, or I can always work at the top level. And now that shows all of my entities together. And you can build user-defined security down to the property level very easily if you'd like to as well. All right. Other thing in here is notice export to Excel, PDF, so on. I'm sure all of us that have used Sage 300 CRE from time to time have exported reports out to Excel and still had to massage and move that data somewhat. Here within Sage Intacct, it's quite a bit different. So as an example, if I go into a financial report like this, and I see my cash flow statement here, I can simply pop that to Excel if I'd like to. And the system puts it in my downloads folder. So I can open that up. And now all of that data is very simply and easily exported and formatted correctly in Excel for me. Now, that's one way to see it. There's other ways we can look at this information as well. If I go to accounts receivable and look at a tenant list, well, I have the ability here, maybe I want to sort on any of these columns. And you'll also notice that I have the ability to go in and do searches based upon a tenant name or a portion of a name. So I can pull up this information as well. Well, maybe I'd like to drop this to Excel. Well, if you notice when I hit export, I see CSV, Excel, Word, PDF, and we even have an import capability also built in here. I'll simply choose Excel again, open it up, and now you'll see all of this data is formatted for me correctly as well. You also have the ability in here to very easily go in and make changes and add in columns if you'd like to. So I have an example here where I like to show, with a tenant phone number and an email address. By the way, of course, you can email anything out of the system here also. So quite a bit of user friendliness when we are looking to access our data also. Lastly, we talk about dimensions. So Intacct has this concept called dimensions where it tags every transaction with certain information. From a real estate perspective, we tag everything with the entity, the property, the tenant, and the lease. So we did preserve that lease functionality from Sage 300 CRE in Sage Intacct Real Estate. So now it becomes very easy to search, sort, total based upon any of those dimensions that I'd like to. Next, let's talk about the user interface. Sage 300 CRE is Windows-based technology. It doesn't adapt to your different screen resolutions very well. Sage Intacct is web-based technology, so it is very adaptable. We already talked about the ability to add custom fields. It's a modern UI that scales quite well. So if I go in here, as you can see, I can very easily choose to use a smaller font or a larger font, whatever I'd like to do. And that preserves it whether I'm in on an individual tenant screen where I see the information related to that tenant and so on, or if I'm on a report or whatever the case may be. Next, let's talk about alerts. Sage 300 CRE required the My Assistant application to do alerts, and it's an excellent product. Frankly, I think it's the best module within Sage 300 CRE because of that notification capability. Sage Intacct has those abilities built right into it. I have an example here on the side that just shows when a renewal option is coming up for a tenant, an example of what might go out that way. We also utilize this for all your tenant statements, your dunning notices, all of those types of things can be automated in here. If you want your property managers to get a report once a week of all outstanding AR or what changes are coming to different leases, maybe there's a bump up that's going into place or whatever the case may be, those alerts all have that capability. Well, That was really what I wanted to spend the time talking about today. Thank you very much for your time and attention. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us at ETHOSystems, and we'd be happy to get together and show you the product in detail. Thanks, and have a good day.